Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at recruiting and consulting firm Riderflex. If you think today's tip or guest interview can help someone you know, please share this with them. And if you enjoy listening to our show, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button on the episodes. Finally, aside from our podcast, our day job here at Riderflex is to provide recruiting, staffing, and consulting services. You can visit riderflex.com to learn more about us and get the information on the services we provide. And now, a quick word from our sponsor and friends at Marketing 360.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
Yeah. Alison Rayfield on the Riderflex podcast. Hello, Ali.
Hello, Steve. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Because of your company name, has anybody ever talked to you like later on in the conversation? They're like, oh, yeah, it's AliRay. No. Wait, not AliRay. It's Alison Rayfield.
A lot of people call me AliRay.
Do they?
So,
okay.
Yeah. My first job out of school, there were 2 Allies, and my name just became AliRay. And so people early in my career, like Carrie, they will refer to me as AliRay.
So that's why you stuck with that for the consulting name.
Yes.
I see. Okay. Interesting. All right. Tell me about the young Ali, childhood, parents, siblings, where you grew up. Let me have some of that personal stuff.
Sure. Well, that Ali was Allison. So my full name is Allison, and I was probably Allison until high school. And then, high school happens and you want a new identity. And that's when I was like, all right, let me be Ali. That seems cooler. But yeah, young Allison. I grew up on Long Island, New York.
Okay.
I am, it was a very average, basic upbringing, middle class. My parents are teachers. My dad is an accountant by trade, but he taught accounting at a local community school. My mom was a health and phys ed teacher.
Okay.
I'm one of 3 girls. So I'm the middle girl of 3, and they are my soul sisters.
Are they? Okay. Did you have your mom in school when you were in school? Did you have her as your PE coach?
No, she stayed home. She stayed home with us and then went back to work when my younger sister was, I think, first grade, but we never overlapped.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So 3 girls, and where are you? Are you the youngest?
I'm in the middle.
You're in the middle. Okay. Okay. Well, what do they say about that? If you're the middle child, what does that mean? I don't know. I've heard all kinds of different things.
You crave attention.
Gotcha.
You kind of go off on your own. You're always, it's not the first and it's not the baby. So you're there. You're looking for things to get attention. That's what I've heard.
Now you're an extrovert personality. You're not afraid to talk to people. You're not bashful. You're a great communicator. What about your sisters? Are they the same, opposite? Where are they in this personality mix?
Good question. My older sister is more introverted.
Okay.
She's a teacher. Actually, both my sisters are teachers, so they kind of followed in the family footsteps.
Okay.
So my older sister is more introverted. She's a reading specialist. My younger sister, I think she's probably in between us. She's definitely social and extroverted, but she also is, has some introversion too.
Okay. What does she teach?
She teaches special ed.
Oh, she's a super patient person then. She's got more patience than you guys.
Yeah, I think I lack the patience. I think I did not get the patience gene in my family.
Now, were you the troublemaker? Are you the one that got the most trouble? Who got like, the cops called on them in high school or whatever? Who is the troublemaker?
I think I was in or how do I say this? I think I was misbehaving the most, but I didn't get in a lot of trouble because I didn't really get caught.
Oh,
my younger sister got the cops called on her, like from having a party at the house. And, she was probably, that was an isolated incident though. We're all good girls. I mean,
were you? Okay. So did you go wild in college, or are you still pretty conservative?
No, we all had our fun. I think high school for me was a little bit more rambunctious than college.
Okay.
I did go to college, though. I went to the University of Scranton in Pennsylvania.
I saw that.
Um,
Why did you pick that?
So it's funny. It seemed to be like it was a popular choice within my high school. So
Oh,
there was
really?
a bunch
Really?
of kids that went to Scranton. My older sister went there also.
Interesting. Okay. All right. And interesting. You went to school in Pennsylvania coming from Long Island. By the way, you live in Boston now?
I do. I live outside of Boston now.
Okay. There are certain words that you use where I would know you're from Long Island, right? There's certain words, very, when you said the word very, and then there's some other ones in there where I'm like, okay, right there's Long Island. Do your parents have a stronger accent?
Yeah, they say things like mother, father, coffee, like those are the words that seem to stick out.
Right. Yeah, very good. I can hear yours is watered down a little bit now, though. I can tell. Did you get to, all right, when you went to Scranton, did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up then? Or you're like, I'm going to major in communications. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Right.
But I did know
man.
that. I knew I really liked advertising. Like I knew I liked, like I was drawn to ads, which
Okay.
is kind of a weird thing to say, but
Okay.
I guess as a kid, I always liked that, what I understood as advertising.
All right.
And I knew I wanted to study that, but I didn't really know what that meant after school. And also communications was a major that was how do I say, like, it was common, it was like, if you go into this, you can kind of go in different areas if you
Right.
decide that you don't want to go there.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Plus it's a hell of a lot easier than accounting or some of the other majors. I know, because I was a communications major. I started out as an accounting major, and then like I cheated my way through accounting 1 because somebody had all the tests and I didn't go to class and I had all the tests. And so then when accounting 2 came, I was like, oh shit. Okay. I don't know anything. Again, now what do I do? So I had to switch my major. But my counselors were like, yeah, you're not very smart. You might want to just, communications is probably something you can get through. Okay.
Yep,
So, all right.
relate.
You come out of Scranton, you go into sales. I guess what happened? Did the people you knew, they met you and you're like, well, she's got sales personality. Is that what happened?
It's funny. I graduated in 2000, so it was kind of this .com boom time.
Okay.
And a couple of people that I knew from Scranton were getting jobs in the internet industry and digital advertising. And it's so funny. I literally typed in the URL advertising.com, and there was a company called advertising.com, and I interviewed and I got the job.
Oh, wow.
And
all right.
So it was on the sales side of, at that time it was, digital ad networks. It was one of the first.
Okay.
And it was in New York City, and it was fun and young. And I remember seeing on the website that there were ping pong tables and free lunches. And that was like, I'm like, how could this be any better?
Wow. All right. You stayed for almost 6 years.
I did. It was an awesome, awesome experience. And I've gained some great friends. And that's where I met Carrie originally.
I see.
It was just a good upbringing in my professional start.
Okay. Why'd you leave?
I think I just needed a change.
Okay.
All
right.
I actually remember getting a boss that I just didn't like, and she was kind of my age. And, I feel like there's always a reason why people leave companies. So that was kind of the impetus of like, what am I doing? I think I need to explore something else, learn something else. And then I went to Thomson Reuters, which was totally different. It wasn't the network side of the business. It was the brand side of the business. And I felt like that would be a good area to learn, what it meant like to represent a brand as a seller.
And then you didn't like it.
I didn't love it. I really wanted to love it. I loved the people. It was just so not for me. Like I was at that time, maybe 27-ish. And I was selling like business and finance news to, like, that's just not my personality. It wasn't, felt misaligned,
Okay.
I could have chosen a brand that was a little bit different.
Okay. You were 27 then. And then what's your social life going on? What's happening at that time? Are you married? Are you kids? Are you partner? Are you single? What's happening with you personally right about that time?
Yeah, I was about to get married. I got married. I've been married. I am married now, but that relationship didn't work out. But I was about to get married. I got married first at 28 years old. So when I was at Thomson Reuters.
I see. All right. All right. And that marriage didn't work out. So that for that job didn't work out and that marriage didn't work out.
Right. Something was in the water around that time.
Yeah, okay. So, but that's an interesting thing though, because that kind of shapes you, right? So what, like between 28 and 30, right in there, like you had some major, there's a bunch of changes going on right in there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't wind up getting a divorce till I was about 34, 35.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
I mean, that relationship was strong and great. And, for a lot of reasons it didn't work out, but, it was with my college sweetheart. So again, it was like, kind of not to compare it to why I left ad.com, but, there was, I felt like there was like learning and growing that I needed to do differently.
Okay. Okay. And then,
different
okay. Any children, by the way?
No, but I'm expecting my first baby now.
What? Oh, cool. Congratulations.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm doing about a month's time.
You're doing a month. I can't even hardly I wouldn't even have known you were pregnant. Are you kidding me? You haven't like gained any weight in your face or nothing. Holy cow.
I know, it is all belly.
Wow. Yeah. I wouldn't even have known. Well, congratulations. Boy or girl?
Not sure.
You going to do the surprise thing?
Yeah, we're doing the surprise thing.
All right. What's your husband do?
He's in software sales and he does real estate also.
Sales. He's in sales. What'd you guys like you're late one night at a Holiday Inn bar on a sales on the road from a sales visit and you're like, hey, what's your name? Well, how did it happen?
No, he's actually good friends. I met through my younger sister. He's really good friends with her and her husband. So
okay.
Yeah,
so your sister, so you went through your divorce and your sister felt sorry for you because you were alone. So she matched Megan and hooked you up. I understand.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Now, congratulations on the baby. That's super
Thank
awesome.
you.
So back to your career, Millennial Media. You stayed there for like 7 years and moved up and got promoted, right? That was a good ride.
That was an awesome run too. Yeah.
Okay. What happened? Why'd you leave?
Gosh, why did I leave?
Got promoted or got recruited. Sorry, got recruited by Kip, I guess is how you say it. I don't know.
Keep.
It's Keep. Sorry, Keep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry.
I knew it. That was an internet name. Everybody had to be a little bit different in their spelling.
Did you get recruited by them or what happened?
No. So this is kind of another crossroads story. Like, I feel like I had a couple of crossroads in my life where, for whatever reason, things were moving me in a different direction. So Millennial was awesome. Again, like great upbringing. I learned a ton. That's where I started managing people. I started there as an individual contributor. And then, I grew to run the East Coast of the company from a revenue perspective. And there was an acquisition and things were just kind of being jumbled around. And I was either offered, is that a moment where I was offered a lateral position or that there wasn't going to be a position for me at the company anymore. So it was essentially being replaced. And like, it's funny, that was around the time that I was going through my divorce. It was a total moment where I felt like the universe was just kind of like shaking things up. Like, this is not where you're supposed to be. And I decided to leave the company. I didn't really have a plan. And, thankfully I got, a nice severance in order because I was there for a long time and I had a couple months to figure things out.
Okay.
So I went to Italy, I went to Greece,
cool.
I traveled, like it was a good moment in time for me personally.
Great.
And I didn't really feel that connected to the industry at that point, but I didn't make the change to leave at that moment. I went to Keep and that was awesome because it was a national role and I felt like I was growing and again, learning a different part of the business.
How big were they? How many employees?
Keep was small. under 30 at that time.
Okay. So you were reporting right to the CEO as chief revenue officer, huh?
Yeah, which was
That's
fun.
good. That's a great, yeah. I mean, that's great experience, right? I mean, it's super good experience, small company, reporting right to the CEO, head of revenue. Okay. I mean, that's good.
Yeah. Awesome exposure. I had
Yeah.
exposure to our investors for the first time.
Awesome.
I helped raise money. We went through a couple rounds of financing when I was there.
Great experience.
So it was huge. It was a great learning experience.
Okay.
And then if I can keep going, I don't know if you had another question.
Go for it.
But there was again, another life moment where my mom actually passed away suddenly.
Okay.
And I was probably at Keep around that time for 3 years, maybe 3 years at that moment. And again, I felt like there was this pull to kind of figure things out. And, it was obviously a tragic event. It was a sudden event.
It was sudden. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I really kind of was like, what am I doing? Like I like this industry from the outside looking in. I felt really successful and, connected, but there was just something that was asking me to, reevaluate my life. And I actually hired a coach at that time. And, through coaching, I kind of saw that I wasn't really thrilled with this work. And I was at a point in life where I started dating my now husband, and he lived in Boston and I was in New York. And it's kind of this moment of like, life is short. Like, let me try something new. Let me, really try to figure it out. Again, it's funny. You asked like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Like I was doing this at then now 37 years old. And I'm so appreciative of those moments of reality of, being able to, how do I say it? Like, reevaluate what was going on. And I learned so much about myself through coaching. And that's really what kind of brought me to this present moment of being able to be a coach, move into the executive coaching world, but also, or move into the coaching world, but also help professionals, during their moments of transition.
When you met your coach, like after a while, were you like, man, I like what this coach is doing. Like, this is a cool profession and I think I could do this too. Like, did that just kind of formulate over time a little bit?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like she was positioning herself as a life coach, and she actually was someone that I worked with at Millennial.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Wow.
it was a very trusted person. And I'm like, sure, I think I could use this, just in general. And then exactly what you said, I saw that I was like, ooh, the wheels started turning. Like, I think I could do this. I think this is what I would want to do.
So let me get this straight. When your sister sets you up with the first date with your now husband, he meets you and you're like, yeah, listen, I don't really have a job. I don't really know what I want to do with my life. I'm kind of lost right now, but yeah, let's go on a date. he's probably thinking, holy shit. What the hell? I gotta get out of here.
No, I fooled him. I was like at the height of my career at that time. I fooled him. And then I kept my job and moved to Boston. He was like,
oh, okay. Yeah. Then you quit. He's like, what are you going to do? And you're like, I don't know. I'm moving to Boston with you.
Exactly.
So good. That's pretty good. Okay. All right. So this coach was a big inspiration on your life, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. So then what you kind of walk me into formulating the plan now for AliRay, and like, what was this over months? And then you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. Walk me into it. The transition. Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So I guess I hired my coach. Her name is Karen Scott. She's great. Or Karen Ozeri. That is her new last name. The timing is funny because I was at Keep for about 9 months before I decided to leave, or I was in the last 9 months of being at Keep is when I was working with this coach.
Okay.
So it wasn't an overnight, like hired a coach, quit my job, brazen,
Yeah.
feeling really motivated to change. It was like a lot of, what do I want to do? What do I like about this job? What do I hate? And it was really kind of identifying what would I miss if I did leave, and then building up the courage to leave, which took about 9 months. It wasn't overnight. So I left in August of 2018. And what I realized at that moment was that I didn't want to I just still didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know coaching was the thing.
So when you quit your last day, when you walked out of Keep, you did not know coaching was going to be the thing.
Correct.
What, you have a big savings account? You had a lot of money in the bank on the side, or you saved up a little cash?
Yeah, thankfully I did have a savings. So
okay. All right.
I have to rely on my husband or boyfriend at that time too much.
Okay.
I just
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you leave. So you leave and you're all right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I left and I did another couple months off, like similar to what I did when I went to Italy and Greece. I had about 5 months and I said, all right, I'm going to give myself to the end of the year and figure it out. And everybody thought I was crazy. I thought I was crazy. It was like the first time I really pressed pause without a plan.
Did you what'd you do? Like get in a Subaru and drive around the country and just be a hippie and like camp out, or what'd you do?
No, I still want to do that. Actually, that's like on my bucket list, but I didn't actually, I just kind of stayed in Boston or stayed in the surrounding areas. I was trying to build my life up here, it kind of felt like it was, the time to see what I wanted to, how to build my life in Boston.
Okay. All right.
And what I missed, I guess what I realized during that time was I missed the people. I missed all of the development, stuff that I was doing with my team. I had a team of probably 15 people. And I missed those conversations, like those one-on-ones. I know that sometimes in the business world, like these one-on-ones, people, dread or skip and, delay. And that was the stuff that's where I felt most alive when I was like really helping my team, whether it was like account stuff with sales, but a lot of it was more, confidence building and, getting people to think and have a new perspective. And I realized that those were the things that I was missing, which led me to the idea of, wow, if I could coach, if I could do this, but not have to work at the company, not have to run a sales team, like that could be a really good profession.
Okay. All right. So then what? You looked up AliRay.com and you're like, oh, cool. I'm buying the URL. Right.
Yes, I actually had that URL from years before.
Cool.
This is a total aside, but I used to have a jewelry making business and it was called AliRay Designs.
That's what that is on your LinkedIn. I'm like, what's this design thing? What is this? Okay. Oh, that's what that is. So you had the URL. All right. How did you get your first customer? Did you start dialing for dollars and telling all your friends, hey, I'm doing coaching, by the way, if you know anybody? Is that how you did it?
Totally. Yeah. Yep. And the best part about it was all referral based. It's still a lot of it still is.
Great.
And
that's wonderful.
Yeah. I feel really lucky. I have a great network and, trusted clients. So I do get good referrals still. And my first clients were these first-time C-level executives. It was people that were exactly in my position just a couple years earlier. And they were trying to figure out, how do I be a C-level? This is my first time doing it. I'm used to doing the work versus creating the vision. And I was helping them. So it was so aligned. It was really cool that even though I was only a couple steps ahead of them, I could, help them in a way that, they felt like I was a sounding board. I knew where they were coming from. I had this approach that, I've been in their shoes, which I think is really helpful, especially in those early days for me to build my confidence as a coach and also to help, get results with them, pretty quickly.
Great. So that's great. And you built up a referral network. And so give us, as the business stands today, give us the AliRay consulting or AliRay executive coach. Give us the 3-minute elevator pitch. Go for it.
So I will say that my business has changed.
Okay.
And the biggest piece over the last 3 years, so maybe this isn't the elevator pitch, but I'll kind of bring you up to
All right.
where I'm at right now, is that I help people figure out their next moves. It's pretty simple. And what I love about that is that, people, especially in the last 2 years, are at such a different place they were 2 years ago with their careers. We've all been, uprooted from where we were, and we're looking at our lives really differently about like, what are the things that I want to accept in my life? What is the, career that I want? People have been forced in these like squares, and, are we satisfied with our careers at this stage? So who I help now, and actually I'm launching a kind of a group program early next year, is to help creative professionals gain control of the second stage of their career. So it's the people who are at those crossroads and saying like, yeah, I'm successful, I'm smart, I've, earned a lot of money, but this just doesn't feel right. And I want more fulfillment, and I want my life to look differently. And those are the people who, in the last year have been, seeking my services. So it is different from when I first started. So I guess the pitch is like, if you're at a crossroads, if you're frustrated with yourself that you haven't, taken any action to figure out the next phase of your career, like those are the people who I'm helping.
Very good. And do you sign? So really it's an individual service. You're not signing a company and doing all the executives. You're talking to private individuals, one-on-one type of deal.
Yeah, for this specific initiative, definitely.
Okay.
I am working with corporate clients still, and I do see that that's going to be a part of my business, for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
What I do with companies is, I work with like newly formed leadership teams.
Okay.
And I'll do a combination of, leadership workshops as a group, and also one-on-one coaching with the individuals. But it's hard to ignore that a lot of my personal clients this year are, they're a little lost. They're saying, I think I need some support in figuring out my next step.
Are they usually C-level? Are they VPs? Is it a mix?
It is a mix.
Okay.
Most of them have been or are at that, upper tier VP C-level.
Okay.
Okay. Executive.
And do they also lay down on the couch and confess? Does the personal stuff bleed over into it a little bit? Probably, huh?
It does. Yeah. It's funny when everyone comes to me for professional support,
right?
And very quickly, the personal stuff comes in.
Yeah. Because it just bleeds together. It's almost impossible to separate it, really.
Totally.
It
really
is. And is your service virtual, Zoom, in person, both?
Yeah, it is virtual. A lot of my clients are West Coast or New York. So it's, I do everything, almost everything on Zoom.
Okay. And is it by the hour, by the session? Do I sign up for 6 months? Do I sign up for, how does that work?
Yeah, it is for both corporate and personal. It's usually like a 3 to 6 month engagement.
3 to 6 months. Okay. What if I don't want to commit to 3 months? What if I'm like, I don't know, I want to test, I want to date first. What if I don't want to sign up for 3 months?
As much as I want to date people, like, I don't think that you get the most results when you're just trying to feel things out. Okay. You have to be ready. You have to be at that stage where you're ready to, commit. And a lot of A lot of people are.
Okay. Do you pay by month or do you have to pay all 3 months up front?
You have to pay all 3 months up front.
Okay. Is that because you've been burned? Is this safer business model for you?
No, I haven't been burned. I just find that,
you haven't been burned because they got to pay up front.
yeah, true.
Uh,
There's an energy to committing fully.
oh, I like that right there. There's an energy. Oh, I'm going to tell Scott that, my sales guy. There's an energy to committing. Oh, that is a good line, Allie. I like it.
Thank you.
Oh, I like it.
Well, I think it's true. You know, even if I look at myself as a consumer, like if I'm wishy-washy about something, I might not put the most effort in.
Okay.
And when people do commit and they commit financially, you know, they just show up differently. It's like, I'm ready to go and I'm ready to kind of create this, you know, create something for myself. It is an investment in themselves.
Is there some sort of tax benefit, like a coaching or class? Can you write this off on your taxes as like a educational thing or anything? I don't know. I don't know how that works. I'm not a tax guy. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know a lot of my clients do ask their companies to reimburse them. You know, a lot of companies right now are giving them, you know, education or mentoring stipends. So that's a positive.
Yeah, it is. So, and by the way, for the listeners, it is AliRay.com. And you can also find Alison Rayfield on LinkedIn. Find Alison Rayfield. I noticed that you don't spend a ton of time on social media. You're not a huge social media person. And so I assumed, I came into the conversation thinking, okay, well, she must have a lot of referral business because she doesn't spend a ton of time on social media, which usually means your business is stable enough and you're getting enough referrals where you don't have to most of the time.
Thank you. I mean, I could always, you know, I'm taking new clients. Let's put it that way.
Okay. All right. Okay.
No,
all right,
I appreciate that. I find it's funny that you mentioned social media because I'm not that active, but I think that I get stuck, you know, like if I'm thinking of my own areas of improvement, the consistency is really hard.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I find that, and just like I mentioned before, like I'm doing some corporate work. I'm, you know, seeing a shift in the business that is really personal and personal career development. So there are moments where I'm like, what am I posting about? You know, which is, you know, who is my core group? I think that it's shifting. So sometimes I get stuck and I just don't post.
So the consistency thing, I think I'm glad you brought that up because it's a good tip for the listeners. Because I've gotten that many times. People are like, dude, how do you do this like every day? You guys are always just posting something. You're just so consistent. And when they say that, I say, yeah, and it's really hard and takes a lot of time. So yeah, like this shit don't happen by accident. No, it takes investment for sure. It's very difficult. It is very difficult. I wanted to talk a little bit here about how some of your clients might be feeling and how I might be able to relate to that because I've been C-level, right? Now I'm a founder of Riderflex, a recruiting firm, right? And we're like a $2 million firm. So we're a small company. So it's startup, which is super stressful. But I was also a CEO and a COO of a couple of $40 million companies, right? So I've lived both lives.
Sure.
And there is, there's definitely a need for somebody like you to just be able to talk to, quite frankly. I mean, a C-level position is a very lonely place, professionally, especially the CEO position, but C-level in general is very lonely. You know, what I would say to the listeners is this: most companies, like 90% of companies, are not GE and Google and Nike, where they have professional C-level training courses and checklists and all this other crap. You know, when you get promoted, 90% of the small and medium-sized businesses out there, here's how it works. One day you're like a director, and then the next day the owner comes in and says, hey, by the way, you want to be chief revenue officer? Okay, cool. Here you go. You're chief revenue officer. There's no training. There's no checklist. There's no handbook. Figure it out. That's how most of it goes. And because of that, because that's the way it happens for most people, then several things happen, right? The imposter syndrome happens where you're like, okay, do I really
Yes.
belong here? Am I good enough to be here? Do people really know I'm not qualified? Holy shit, I'm scared. I don't really know what I'm doing. All that happens. And the stress of trying to, okay, now I need to act like I know everything. So I'm going to not ask enough questions and I'm not going to listen enough to my team because I got to look competent, even though I'm scared shitless. All of that happens and it's super stressful. And then you start working 70 or 80 hours a week and you're traveling around the world, staying in hotels and you're missing out on your family. And then pretty soon what happens is you're making better money. It's okay. I got to buy the bigger house, live in the bigger neighborhood and drive the nicer car. So now you've maxed out all your money you're bringing in anyway. And you don't really saving as much as you should. And now you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and now you're super stressed. And then one day you wake up in that hotel room and you go down to the hotel lobby and get the shitty ass coffee and you go, well, what the hell am I doing? Like, what am I doing with my life? That's when you call Alison.
It's true. All of that is so true. I live that too.
It's really is true because you do have those moments where you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Isn't it interesting when you're in your 20s or 30s or whatever, before you get to an executive position, you're like, man, if I could just make $150,000 a year, my life will be perfect and everything will be great then. If I could just make a VP and make 175, then everything will be fine. It just never really, there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? It just, once you get to one mark, then you're looking at the next mark and the next mark, and it never stops. It's never good enough, which is why you end up in that mentality of what the hell am I doing on this planet? And you're right. Then you have life changes like your mother dying or COVID happening or whatever. And then people really start reflecting. Then people really start having these moments where they're like, okay, what am I doing? And then you plug in, I'll be quiet. I'm on a rant here. Then you plug in, then you plug in the millennials that come into the fold professionally. And all of a sudden these millennials are like, hey man, like as long as I have the money to go camp, or as long as I have the freedom to go camping on Fridays and I only have to work 38 hours a week, and I can kind of like work remotely, I really don't care how much I make because they don't, right? They're not about the material things. They're about the freedom to have experiences and live life, right? And then the 50-year-olds are looking at the millennials going, oh, okay, well, that's actually pretty cool. I want to do that too.
It is. We're at like such a generational shift.
Big time.
And there's like resentment to the millennials, but there's also admiration.
Yes.
And I think we're in such a shift on so many things, the workplace generations, masculinity, femininity, like we're all just at this, there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of tension in like, what were my beliefs before and what are they now?
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. But everything you said about getting to that point, and I think it's sometimes we're on autopilot in our 20s to our 40s.
Yes.
Of that career, like this is just the way you do things. This is just the way people have done it before. Mm-hmm. And I'm 42, but I think that my age group is, starting to question things a lot more and maybe, 10 years younger too, mm-hmm. because of the millennials, they're a big influence on us.
They are in a lot of ways. I mean, you're right. There are some resentment things too. And there are some things they do that get on my nerves, but more often than not, I do have more of a respect factor for the whole, I want to live my life for experiences, not material things.
Yep.
I think there's a lot to be said by that. So how do you help these 44-year-old executives find themselves? I guess you can't just give us all the answers on the podcast because then there'd be no reason for your service, right?
I help them slow down. I think that's like part of it. And that's not a secret. We hear all these things about like meditation and mindfulness and slowing down. And experiences. But I think that's one of the biggest things is it's an hour, a week, every other week, whatever the timing allows. And it's a moment for them to slow down. It's a moment for them to like reconnect with themselves. Like even when I was starting coaching, like I think my coach asked me like, what are your values? And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Like friends and family and that was probably my answer. Just my values were my friends and family. And I didn't really know what that meant. So I think a lot of people don't get introspective because they don't have time. And coaching is a way to slow things down, realize what really matters. Like values are really about, what do I want to what are my priorities? I think that there's like coaching language and then there's professional language. And like, that's also my job is to make it not to feel so coachy and make it to feel professional. And then people do respond to that pretty well. I
agree with the language part of it, by the way. I get, I've had over 200 guests on the podcast now, and sometimes I get executives on, and they're in their executive language and their executive speech, because that's the robot world they live in. And then once I talk to them, I'm like, it's okay, man. You can chill out now. You don't have to, we can just have a regular conversation. Do you, so are you like one of these, cause I've had several people that are executive coaches, professional coaches, life coaches. I've had several of these people on the podcast. Are you like, do you have all these certifications and letters and I don't know, certificates? I don't know how all that works. What is that? Does that mean anything? I don't know.
I think it means something to me. Meaning like when I wanted, or there's a lot of people that are calling themselves coaches right now. Yeah. And, there are accreditation company, corporations. I don't know the right word.
Okay. Yep.
I'm blanking on the word, but, there's the ICF, which is the International Coaching Foundation.
Okay.
Or Federation. I should know these because I belong to them, but, I think there are trainings, there are a lot of good companies out there that go through training. I went through a company called CTI, which is the Coaches Training Institute.
Okay.
All of these provide different frameworks, different methodologies. And there is certifications, there's different levels of certification. I think that's just good housekeeping, good healthcare
Okay.
I also like to, I'm so curious and interested in a lot of the content. So, I think a lot of coaches they're like, oh, now I know about how to, like how my body reacts differently to certain things. So I want to learn about embodiment, and that's a different, coaching technique. So there's a lot out there for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I was wondering about that. I've had a bunch of people on the show, and I mean, sometimes these letters people put behind their names are just like, okay, so you sent in $1,000 to this place and they sent you the certificate. Okay, cool. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
But it sounds like there are some good ones out there too.
Yeah, there definitely are. And the ICF is kind of the standard of, the ICF certifies all of the different organizations, all the different coaching methodologies. So they're kind of the big guy out there. That's the big standard.
Okay. And a couple more questions. I know we're getting close to the back end here. When you get the executive that you're talking to, what is the most common thing they're looking for? Are they looking for what's my answer for my next job, or what's my answer for my next career? Well, what is the most common thing they're after?
The C levels that I coach they're after clarity. So they're after making their like professional lives easier. They want to know how to manage their teams better. They want to know, how they, leave things at the door. They want to know how they respond emotionally better a lot of people are at their emotional, bars.
Mhm.
And so a lot of them want to figure out how to, release some anxiety and handle things with less emotion or
Yeah,
less reaction, I should say, not emotion, less reaction.
because of the stress level they're under and the anxiety they're under.
Yeah.
And most of the stress comes from how do I stay at this level so I still keep making this money, or how do I make sure I don't make a mistake and I'm not good enough to be in the spot I'm in.
There is a lot of imposter syndrome for sure. It's funny. It's like reminding themselves why they're there, and reminding themselves that they have the credentials to be there, even if they feel like they don't sometimes.
Okay.
I don't think it's not as fearful as I don't want to make a mistake. It's like, how do I own this? Like, how do I be the best version, the best CRO, the best that I can be?
Okay. We were talking about social media earlier about how you're not super active. Do you ever coach these CEOs around their own social media activity? Do you ever tell them like, no? Okay. I didn't know like sometimes you get a client, you go on their LinkedIn page or go on their Facebook or their Twitter, and they're going crazy on social media saying crazy shit out there about stuff. And then you get them in you get them in the meeting. You're like, what are you doing, man? Calm down. You don't ever, no. Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not the coach for that, but I'm sure there's somebody who is.
Have you ever had to fire somebody because they're just too like way out there? They're like, I had a guy tied up in my basement for 4 months but I didn't tell anybody. Like anything super crazy?
Not that, but
you've had stuff where they share it. You're like, okay, I don't need to know anymore. Has that happened?
No, I actually love that stuff. I just think human nature is just awesome. I love hearing the weird stuff. And also people think they're so much weirder than they are.
Right.
People are like, this is going to sound crazy. And I'm like, yep, doesn't sound crazy at all. So
yeah, the longer you do it, the more you're like, yeah, I heard this 20 times last week. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And then your husband at night, you're like, does he comes home? Does he work from home or he works from remote?
Yeah, he works from home. We both do now.
Okay. So you come up, you come out of your office for a cup of coffee and you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy was just, you guys talk about that probably all the time. I do that with my wife, with job candidates for other recruiting firms, because that's what we do for a living besides the podcast. I'll interview somebody and I'll come upstairs and I'll get a cup of coffee and I'll just tell Kim, I'm like, holy crap, you just would not believe what these people are saying.
I actually try. I actually don't, because of confidentiality. Like,
you can't even tell your husband. You can't even talk to your husband about it.
I mean, I technically could, because he doesn't know who these people are. Like, there's a lot of anonymity. There's no name telling.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. I try not to, because I feel like once you do, then it becomes, I don't know. There's a line that I feel like I don't want to cross just to anyone.
Yeah, you're a little bit like a psychiatrist, kind of, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. You're close. You might as well just go. You might as well just go back to school for that. Plug that in there. Have you thought about it?
I really love a lot of like the psychology of it. Like I like to learn that. But I don't think I'll ever go back to school for it. Yeah. I think I can avoid that cost and that time, but still learn it and still practice it with clients. Who knows though?
Yeah, who knows? 2 final questions.
Okay.
So let's see. I saw what year you graduated high school. So you're like 40, right? Does that sound right? Are you like, what are you? Yeah. 42. Okay. I'll
be 43.
43. All right. First baby at 43. You're going to be tired. What I
We
mean
should
by
do
that
this
is,
podcast in like 6 months and see if how different I look. Maybe I'll be grayer. I'll put bags under my eyes.
how old's your husband?
He's 39.
Wow, Rob's cradle a little bit. Okay. All right. When your kid graduates high school, you're gonna be like, "Phew, okay, holy crap, I'm tired now." Well, where was I? Oh, my 2 final questions. Yeah. If you could call the young lady coming out of Scranton, right? Graduation day, and tell her anything based on what you've learned, if you could just give her 1 or 2 pieces of advice, what would you say?
I would say to learn who you are and use that as your North Star for the rest of your life. Really, really love yourself, really get to know yourself. And I think that would be really good advice for her.
Translation of that might be, go on the Subaru hippie trip for 6 months to 12 months right after college before you start your career and find yourself.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I did a little of that, but not enough.
Me either. And by the way, I go camping in the Colorado mountains now at the age of 54 all the time because I didn't do it when I was young. Okay. Last question is your core purpose in life right now. If you had to put that into a sentence, what would that sound like?
Great question. My core purpose in life right now is to create a human being and lean into this next phase of my life. It's definitely a different stage. So as much as we've talked about work and this is obviously the theme of that. Like, I feel like my core purpose right now is to become a mom and to do that to the best of my ability, and to like anything, it's like a lesson in letting go of control. And I think this experience is going to just help my clients. I think it's a new phase that I'll go through that will only help me understand humans on a different and better basis.
Very good. Ali, thank you so much. Is that your husband opening the microwave in the background? What is he, warming up some coffee or what?
Somebody's back there. I'm not sure. I think it's the door. Couple things going on.
Ali, thank you for being on the Riderflex podcast and sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
I was such a nice conversation. Thanks for having me, Steve.